What's going on, people, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to do a little mix breakdown of a track I did called Cause and Effect by Carmen Marie. Now this was a special mix. I say special, but it's a different mix. It's a different kind of scenario where I actually had a lot more input on how the song was going to sound. So usually a producer will send me the track or an artist will send me the track, and I would just try to faithfully recreate their rough mix, just make it sound better. Whereas this, I kind of suggested it go in a bit of a different direction, and I'll show you what I mean. So let me play you the track. Like I said, it's called Cause and Effect, and it's out everywhere. I'll put the link in the description below. Okay, cool. So when I received the song to mix, I listened to the rough mix as I do with everything, with every mix I receive. And I don't know, I just kind of felt like it needed to have a retro feel to it. I felt like the song, the way that it sounded, I don't know, it just made me think of being in like a smoky kind of small nightclub, and Carmen is performing with a live band. There's a lot of live instruments on this. So I put it out to Carmen. I said, what do you think about me doing a bit more of a kind of vintage sound, and more of a retro sound? And I don't know, I think she was a bit unsure. So what I did is I did a quick mix. So I just kind of done a really rough mix with the kind of sound I was going to be heading in, like a lot of reverb, a lot of delays, kind of a bit, I want to say, dusty sounding. And she really liked it. So we decided to go with the more vintage sounding, and I want to show you how I achieved that. So first, let's talk about the instrumental. I think the main thing I wanted to just kind of show you about the instrumental is just the positioning. As you can see, if you check out all the panning on all of these channels, I've kind of done my best to put everything in its own space. You know, we got some trumpets here, the drums are pan, the congas are over here, because I want you to close your eyes and imagine you're watching this show on stage. You know, I think the drums I might have crushed down. Yeah, I used the DBX, which is a very it's got a sound, let's just say that. It is not a faint-hearted compressor, it's quite aggressive. So I used that on the drums. Overall, I didn't do too much, it doesn't look like, on the drums, but I did just want to make sure that they sounded nice and compressed and as if it was a live stage show. We've also got, of course, our bass, which, as always, I split into two. I have the highs and, of course, the lows. It doesn't look like I actually added any distortion. Let's check out this bass real quick. Let me just make sure my microphone is solo safe. Yep, that's cool. So let's check out this bass. Okay, there is a little bit of the piano reverb coming through. So yeah, I didn't actually do any distortion. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of saturation, but I didn't in this case. I just cut out the highs of it, and we added a micro shift to spread out those highs. Now, in retrospect, I wish I did add a little bit of saturation, a little bit more, but in this case, we didn't. I must have just didn't feel like it needed it, because as you can see, it was there, and I've just bypassed it. And then we've run our drums and our bass into this drum and bass bus here with the Saturn. You know, we've got some warm tape on there. That's given us our retro sound, our vintage sound, should I say. Shadow Hills and the black box, again, a little bit of saturation. But in general, that was pretty much it. We did want to get that bass really bassy. That's another thing. With this type of music, I love the fact that when you listen to a lot of live bands, in rock or whatever it might be, often from my ear, and because I got a taste for bass, which I'm sure a lot of you man do as well if you're watching my videos, but like a lot of the time you're like, oh man, I wish it was a little bit more bassy, because obviously we grew up in a certain culture where our music is bassy. But with these particular types of tracks, like they really do let the bass come through, and that's kind of what I was most excited about, and I really wanted to push the bass. I was listening to a lot of reference tracks from other soul singers with a similar sound, and one thing that I always noticed is they were really pushing the bass, and I can appreciate that. As someone that likes bass heavy music, I can appreciate that, and I wanted to make sure I captured that in my mix as well. The keys did give me some issues, and I believe that these keys were recorded from like a keys player's actual keyboard. It's like a sound built in, and they've used an audio out. But these keys were a little bit out of phase. So if you see, we've got the ozone imager here. I've made the width thinner, and I'll show you why. So if we just check out these keys. Now, of course, the piano gets bigger, doesn't it? And you're like, oh, why did you change that, Josh? Well, although it's bigger, it just wasn't punching, because all of the information was on the sides. As you can see on this imager, there just wasn't enough information cutting through the middle. And especially when you listen to it in mono and on your phone speaker, on laptop speakers, on TVs, those keys were just disappearing altogether. And at first, I was struggling. As you can see, I used the spiff to kind of give it a little bit more punch. I did have the little radiator on there. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, this sounds good. And I sent it off to the producer, and the producer came back and said, the keys aren't hitting. Like, they're not, it doesn't sound like there's enough movement in them. And I was listening back, and I was like, he's right. Like, these keys are just not sounding good. And something told me to throw on this ozone. I think I listened to it on my phone, and I think I realized that the keys were just disappearing. So I threw this imager on there, and I realized that it was just, the phase was crazy. You don't really, with images, you don't really want to see it go below zero. And this is living below zero. This isn't even coming above it. So I just made the stereo width a bit thinner, and I put it to 39. Although it doesn't sound as big in terms of width, to kind of make up for that, I added some reverb, which I don't usually do on people's beat stems, but I thought it needed it to kind of bring that, one, to make it sound more acoustic, and again to sound like it's a live show, but also just to bring back that width that we lost from shortening it, thinning it out so much. We've got some brass here, which I don't even think I played. So let's check out the trumpets.
And she always takes me over until I am sober and in shame.
So that first trumpet that we hear, this like solo, that's panned quite hard, not hard left, but it's put to the left side. And again, in my head, I was imagining, our trumpet player on the left on the stage. So I just wanted to move everything around in the mix and give everything its space, just to make everything sound really big. And I think not to blow my own trumpet, I think I did a really good job. So we obviously, because we had 3 trumpets playing at the same time, we put one to the right, one to the left, and one down the middle. But even the one in the middle is slightly off. And the plugins we used are just the Blueface compressor. We did a lot of compression on there. Oh no, we'll just.
No regrets.
My computer's bugging out a little bit. I won't lie to you. We had a trumpets bus that we put everything through with more compression and, you know, some saturation, and also just like a fast delay. Let's solo these trumpets. What's going on here, man? Like, I really wasn't being afraid to put too much reverb on this track. That was my plan. You know, I wanted it to be spacey and reverby. That was the sound I was going for. And I'm glad that Carmen allowed me to do that, because if I didn't ask for permission before, like she's my mum, but, you know, she's the client. You know, you can play it safe, and most people want modern sounding mixes. They don't want their vocals really reverby. They want it kind of, you know, like the sound that you hear all the time on the radio and on TV and etc. etc. So I was happy to kind of get my teeth stuck into something that allowed me to be a little bit more creative with it. And I had fun. I had fun mixing this. Let's talk about the vocals then. So the vocals are coming through on this channel here, and we've got what we got here. Man, what is happening? Why is it just pinging about? So we've got a virtual channel, we've got a de-esser, we're using the Blueface compressor, again a very vintage compressor. I wanted to stay in that theme. Also got an R compressor, and we're just rolling off some of the highs. See, that's another thing. I wanted to give it that muffled sound. So we just rolled off some of the highs there, just to kind of make it sound like she sung it on like an old microphone, or a microphone on a stage, you know, rather than in a professional studio or anything like that. We wanted to give it like a vintage sound. And then all vocals, so that goes out of the lead vocals into these all vocals. We've got a little bit of shimmer on there, because we didn't want it to be completely dead. Going into a tape machine, of course, we want it to sound vintage, so we got to put it onto tape, quote unquote onto tape. I don't know why that just popped up there, but Soothe, we put some Soothe on there too. What we're doing on this looks like we're just boosting some subs there, some real lows. Again, that's another thing that you hear in these old records, like the vocals are got a lot of low end. So it looks like we're just boosting some of the subs there with the mag EQ. And then just a meter. That's just because I probably just wanted to bring the vocal down a little bit, because as you know, once you start automating, you can't control your fader after you start automating. My spacebar isn't working.
No regrets.
You see how it pinged back up there? So like usually when you do a lot of automation, you want to put a little gain plug-in at the end, just so you can turn things up and down overall. We've got some background vocals again. We're just messing around with the stereo field. We're giving everything its place, making sure everything's sat, like giving everything its own little place in the mix. This is got a pan man on it, which I'm guessing is a ad lib. Let's have a look. What is that? With these videos, I try not to do too much preparation. I try to just go into it. So, here we go. Yeah, ad libs. So yeah, the ad libs have got a pan man on it, and of course some volume automation. But that's just so that the ad libs are just moving around in your headphones if you're listening on the headphones. And then the idea of the harmonies and the background vocals is, I'm trying to imagine it as actual background singers. So that's why we're kind of positioning them in different places on the stage. And we've got a little bit of tune in there on the background vocals, and a micro shift. Think that might be it in terms of the vocals. Doesn't look like there's anything else. I tried to keep a lot of automation, as you can see. I tried to keep it simple. I didn't want to put too many plugins. Again, we were trying to capture that sound of it being recorded in the 70s or the 80s. So we didn't want to have too many fancy plugins. We wanted it to be quite simple, quite retro. I didn't want to say retro, but I'm going to say it. You get me? Our effects, because obviously we do have, you can just hear that there's a lot of effects going on. We got a fourth delay. We're using a repeater. Those are my settings. Of course, an EQ. Our reverb, I'm not sure. I can't remember if I'm using a different reverb. I think I am, because look, usually on my reverb 3, I'll use this Josh plate. But as you can see, I'm using the Valhalla Vintage instead, which is quite fitting if you ask me. They're my settings. Oh, okay. I don't remember doing this. Okay, let's listen to this reverb here. Am I even using it? Reverb 1. Yeah, we are. So usually I'll have a small room reverb, like a bright small room reverb to kind of make the vocal sound a little bit more exciting, give it like some space. But this time I've used quite a big reverb instead of a small room reverb. So let's hear what that's doing. Let's listen to that on its own. So let's mute our instrumental, if I could find it. Let's mute that. Let's listen to what this reverb sounds.
I don't wanna come down. I'll see me. You've been warned about this feeling. We'll arrive.
I like that. It's quite a short reverb. It says here Travis ad-libs. I think this is like a reverb that I made to sound like Travis Scott's ad-libs, but apparently it worked on this track, and I like it because it's big but it's short, and that gives us our sound of like being like in the small nightclub that I was going for. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. Our master bus, I might not show you my master bus because I want you guys to watch my master video when I next put one up, and I don't want to ruin it. So I ain't gonna show you the master bus. Maybe I'll just show you the curve bender. There you go. You can have some of that. Which I'm not doing anything on that curve bender is just blank. So yeah, you lucked out there, lads. But yeah, really interesting mix. I really enjoyed it. And I was kind of a little bit excited to talk about it because it was a lot of fun to do. And it is nice when you get like when you get the go ahead to be a little bit more creative. It can be a lot of fun. I think with this track, there was so much that we could do. You know, we had trumpets on there. It's not every day you get trumpets on a track. You know, we had live keys. The drums were really cool and they had a lot of movement. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching. As always, today you'll notice the next few videos I'm gonna be wearing the same outfit because I just took today out just to record videos because, you know, I've already explained I've been inconsistent for various reasons, but I need to get back on it because I enjoy doing this. This is like my hobby that, you know, I find fun. So I wanted to get back on it. So yeah, excuse the same outfit on like the next 10 videos, but at least you know that I'm working and I'm striving to put more content out. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did and you're not already, subscribe, hit that like button, hit the bell, why not? And yeah, leave me a comment and let me know what you want to see next. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.